Call order the 1,660th meeting of the Board of Trustees. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Mr. Wabi.
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson.
Yes.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Fair.
Yeah.
Mr. Evans.
Yes. And a motion to approve the minutes of the preceding meeting.
So moved. Second.
I have no comments. Move on to the committee reports. Trustee Watson, can you read the audit report, please?
Sure. Good afternoon. Audit Committee, July 5, 2022, Board of Trustees report. The Audit Committee met on July 5 at 7:30 a.m. The meeting was attended by Trustees Watson, Evans, Nicholson, Wabi, and Wilson, with Trustee Fair attending online. Chairperson Watson called the roll and had no introductory comments. The minutes of the May 31st Audit Committee meeting were approved. Next internal audit made 2 IT-related presentations. Both presentations were related to the network system security. First presentation was for an audit engagement that involved the performance of an attack and penetration testing of all district-managed network systems, which included internal networks and external websites. All systems facing the internet were included in the engagement scope. The attacks were designed to simulate the techniques of the real-world cyber attackers. The engagement received 2 separate opinions: satisfactory for the external penetration testing and satisfactory for the internal penetration testing. The report contained 2 opportunities for improvement, which were presented to and discussed with the committee. The second presentation was for social engineering exercises involving a phishing testing campaign performed by an internal audit. The campaign targeted the email addresses of all 961 district employees. Real-world spoofing tactics were used to test the employees' behavior when subject to phishing attacks. The results of the testing were presented and discussed with the committee. The overall results were favorable. However, there were a limited number of employees who did not respond well to the test or bait emails. These employees will receive additional training. This type of exercise will be performed annually to assist the overall awareness and education regarding the area. During the presentations, questions were addressed by an internal audit as they were received from the committee. The next audit committee is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, August the 2nd, 2022. This meeting was adjourned at approximately 7:54 a.m. This concludes the audit committee report.
Thank you. Trustee Nicholson, can you read the program management report,
Yes,
please?
I can. The Program Management Committee met on July 5th, 2022 at 8 a.m. The meeting was attended by Trustees Nicholson, Evans, Wilson, Wabi, and Watson, with Fair online. Chairperson Nicholson called roll and had no comment. The minutes of the May 31st, 2022 Program Management meeting were approved. The agenda items being introduced tonight were presented and discussed, including a detailed discussion regarding the following items. Ordinance number 15940, Reef Corps Creek Sanitary Relief. Staff discussed this unplanned supplemental appropriation of $150,000 to an existing project called being constructed by Understall Contracting Company. The supplemental funding request is required to complete the construction due to additional costs related to unforeseen utility relocation and additional rock excavation. Ordinance number 15942, Bissell and Lemay WWTF Fluidized Bed Incinerator. Staff gave a brief presentation on the request for appropriation for contractor stipends as part of this major design build project. Staff explained the status of the project, the design build process, and the use of stipends to compensate unsuccessful proposers. Staff answered several questions from the committee. Ordinance number 15943, Cox Creek Force Main. Staff discussed this planned supplemental appropriation of $2.5 million to an existing project being constructed by Bates Utility Company. This supplemental request is required to complete the construction due to additional costs related to multiple force main breaks, unforeseen field conditions at a bore underneath railroad tracks, and escalation in price of fiberglass reinforced pipe. Ordinance number 15944. Staff described the request for funding for the annual infrastructure repair program. Staff then gave an update on the status of the fiscal year 2022 appropriation and the program expenditures to date. They also discussed the use of the funds for small contractor program and growth opportunity for small minority and women-owned contractors. Staff received questions from the committee. Ordinance number 15946, emergency repair number 070. Staff provided details on the emergency combined sewer and structure repair project at the intersection of Blair and Ferry Street in the city of St. Louis. The executive director declared the emergency and notified the board on June 8, 2022. Staff answered questions from the committee on MWBE participation for the project. This item will be introduced and adopted at tonight's meeting. Ordinance numbers 15952 through 15957. Staff gave summary descriptions of two multi-project engineering design contracts and associated projects on the agenda. These annual appropriations provide the project management and engineering design services for projects required to comply with MSD consent decree. Staff reviewed details of the design work to be performed and the purpose for the project. Specifics were provided regarding the budgeted appropriations as well as current MWBE status on the multi-year program. The next committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for August 2nd, 2022. The meeting was adjourned at 8:59 a.m. This concludes the Program Management Board Comments Report.
Thank you. Trustee Fair, can you read the Finance Committee report, please?
The Finance Committee met on July 5th, 2022 at 9:05 a.m. The meeting was attended by Wilson, Evans, Watson, Nicholson, Wabi, and I was online. I called roll, had no further comments. The minutes of the May 31st, 2022 Finance Committee meeting were approved. Following agenda item to be introduced tonight was presented and discussed. Resolution number 3764, Banking Procedure Resolution. Under provisions of ordinance number 14294, section 3, adopted on December 10, 2015, the list of approved commercial paper issuers may be modified from time to time by resolution of the Board of Trustees of the district. The resolution requires the board to approve and update the list of approved commercial paper issuers as recommended by MSD's investment advisor, U.S. Bank. All additions meet the requirements outlined in the district's investment policy. Other items discussed during the committee meeting included the following. Bethany Pugh of PFM provided a recap of the district's 2022 B bond issue. Bethany indicated that the district received $112.5 million in new money bond proceeds and refunded $9 million of bonds previously issued in 2012, which resulted in a present value savings of $294,000. She stated that the 2022 B bonds were fairly priced and well received by the market, with over 10 times as many orders received than the total amount of bonds offered. Bill Winningham with Milliman reviewed the GASB 6768 actuarial reports. Bill indicated that the funded status of the pension plan increased from 86.2% to 87.5% from December 31st, 2020 to December 31st, 2021. The actuarially determined contribution for 2022 will be $12.3 million. Bill also reviewed the schedules of the active members by age and years of service and a summary of changes in member data. He reviewed the GASB 67 information, which relates to financial reporting for public pension plans, and the GASB 68 results, which address the specifics for accounting for public pension plan obligations. Secretary Treasurer Tim Snoke reviewed the district's operating fund portfolio as of June 28, 2022. Tim indicated that the portfolio is in compliance with the district's investment policy. This concludes the Finance Committee Board Comments report.
Thank you. Trustee Wilson, can you read the Stakeholder Relations Committee report, please?
Yes, I can. Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting board comments report. The Stakeholder Relations Committee met on July 5th, 2022 at 9:38 a.m. The meeting was attended by Chairperson Wilson, Trustees Evans, Nicholson, Wabi, Watson, and via Teams, Trustee Fair. Chairperson Wilson called the roll and had no further comments. The minutes of the May 31st, 2022 Stakeholder Relations Committee meeting were approved. The agenda and discussion items were as follows. Ordinance number 15960, Deferred Compensation Plan. This ordinance will restate the plan document to include language changes or additions and amends the plan to include all amendments since last reinstatement. Ordinance number 15961, the Defined Contribution Plan. This ordinance will restate the plan document to include language changes or additions and amends the plan to include all amendments since last reinstatement. Ordinance number 15959, Excess Umbrella Liability Program, third layer, introduction and adoption. This line of insurance provides additional liability limits coverage included in the combined liability program. This action authorizes an insurance contract with Homesite Insurance Company of Florida for an additional $5 million of liability coverage above the $2 million limit under our combined liability program and auto liability program, and $10 million limit under our excess liability programs, layers 1 and 2. Resolution number 63, Diversity Study Update. Shauna Paradis, Manager of Diversity Programs, gave a presentation to the trustees on the latest disparity study and workforce study update. The resolution will approve the 2022 disparity study update results and allow staff to make changes to the existing MWBE and minority and women workforce diversity programs in accordance with the 2022 update. The next committee meeting is tentatively scheduled for August 2nd, 2022. The meeting was adjourned at 10:14 a.m. This concludes the Stakeholder Relations Committee Board Comments Report.
Thank you. Do we have a report of the Executive Director?
No report, sir.
Any public comments?
There are none.
Submission of public hearing reports
None?
or communications?
None.
All right, on to the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. The consent agenda tonight is items 11 through 18. Is there any board member who would like to pull an item for a separate vote? Hearing none, is there a motion for adoption?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
All right, we will move to ordinances, starting with the item 19, which is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15940. Yes. For a supplemental appropriation of $150,000 from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer construction in the Creve Coeur Creek Sanitary Trunk Sewer Relief Phase 6 project in the city of Chesterfield, authorizing the district to appropriate additional funds to a contract with Understall Contracting. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 20 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15941, authorizing the district to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Ladue for cost sharing for municipal stormwater expenditures in the Deer Creek OMCI reimbursements program in the city of St. Louis. I'm sorry, in St. Louis County. Your motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 21 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15942, making an appropriation of $2 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for a construction proposal stipend in Bissell and Lime wastewater treatment facility fluidized bed incinerator project in the city of St. Louis and unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to award the stipend to the two unsuccessful proposers deemed responsive for submittal of a technical proposal for the design build project. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 22 is the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15943, making a supplemental appropriation of $2.5 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund to be used for sanitary sewer construction in Cox Creek Force Main project in the city of Maryland Heights, and authorizing the district to appropriate additional funds to a contract with Bates Utility Company. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 23, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15944, making an appropriation of $6.5 million from the Sanitary Replacement Fund and $2.5 million from the general fund to be used for repair and replacement of manholes, sewers, and other infrastructure in the infrastructure repairs project at various locations throughout the district. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 24, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15945, making an appropriation of $2.6 million from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for pump station improvements in the New York City UPS pump station replacement phase 2 project in unincorporated St. Louis County and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Kelp Contracting. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 25 is the introduction and adoption of proposed ordinance number 15946. It is an appropriation of $2 million from the emergency fund to be used for an emergency repair in the emergency repair 070 project in the city of St. Louis and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Understall Contracting. A motion for introduction.
So moved.
Take that as a motion and second. Mr.
Second.
Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Do I hear an objection to the suspension of the rule? Hearing none, is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi? Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 26, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15947, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for engineering during the construction phase services in Cox Creek A Pump Station Improvements Project in the city of Chesterfield and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Tuvano Wade Merchant. Is there a motion?
so moved,
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 27, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15948, an appropriation of $3 million from the general fund to be used for CCTV inspection and physical inspection of sewers and sewer cleaning in the CCTV inspection and physical inspection of sewers project throughout the district service area and authorizing the district to enter into a contract with Ace Pipe Cleaning. Is there a motion for introduction?
so moved,
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 28, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15949, making a supplemental appropriation of $50,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for engineering during construction phase services in the city shed mitigation program design project in the city of St. Louis, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Stantec Consulting Service. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
second,
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 29, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15950, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for general engineering services in the general services agreement facility and sewer design contract A project at various locations within the district, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Is there a motion? Introduction.
so
So
moved,
moved. Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 30, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15951, making a supplemental appropriation of $100,000 from the district-wide stormwater fund to be used for designing the Halsted Storm Channel Phase 4 project in unincorporated St. Louis County and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Wrights and Gens. Is there a motion for introduction?
so moved,
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
yes,
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 31, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15952, making a supplemental appropriation of $125,000 from the general fund and $270,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for designing the Lower and Middle River Repair CSO control system improvements project in various municipalities in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group. Promotion for
So moved.
second,
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Wabi,
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Fair,
yes,
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Item 32, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15953, supplemental appropriation of $575,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for design of a pump station, a Lee number 3 pump station and force main project in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with Jacobs Engineering Group. Is there a motion for
So
so,
moved.
second,
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Wabi,
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Fair,
yes,
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Item 33, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15954, supplemental appropriation of $600,000 from the general fund to be used for designing the River Depair tributaries and Upper River Depair CSO controls and Lower Merrimack system improvements in Deer Creek, Merrimack, and River Depair watersheds in various municipalities in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Motion for introduction.
So moved.
second,
Second.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Wabi.
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Fair,
yes,
Mr. Evans.
Yes.
Item 34, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15955, making a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for design of sanitary sewers, storm sewers, and private I&I removal in the CSO Mary Avenue south of Manchester CSO interceptor outfall Elimination Phase 2 project in the city of Brentwood and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 35, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15956, a supplemental appropriation of $200,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for design in the Hampton Creek Sanitary Relief Phase 1 project in the cities of Brentwood and Maplewood, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi? Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 36, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15957, making a supplemental appropriation of $575,000 from the sanitary replacement fund to be used for the design of sanitary tunnel in Lower Merrimack River Systems Improvement, Baumgartner to Fenton Wastewater Treatment Facility Tunnel Project in the cities of Fenton and Sunset Hills in unincorporated St. Louis County, and authorizing the district to amend a contract with HDR Engineering. Motion for introduction.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 37, the introduction of proposed ordinance number 15958, making a supplemental appropriation of $1.5 million from the general fund to be used for professional services in the Oracle Analytics Cloud Migration Project. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 38 is the introduction and adoption of proposed ordinance number 15959, repealing ordinance 15916 adopted June 9th, 2022, and enacting a new ordinance in lieu thereof, awarding a contract to Home Site Insurance Company of Florida for the district's excess umbrella liability insurance coverage from August 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Motion for introduction.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Do I hear an objection to the suspension of the rule? Hearing none, is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 39 is also an introduction and adoption of proposed ordinance number 15960, repealing ordinance number 15111, adopted February 14, 2019, and enacting a new ordinance in lieu thereof on the same subject, establishing an amended and restated deferred compensation plan and trust for employees of the district. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Do I hear an objection to the suspension of the rule? Hearing none, is there a motion for
So
adoption?
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 40 is one more introduction and adoption. This one of proposed ordinance number 15961, repealing ordinance 15109, adopted February 14, 2019, and enacting a new ordinance in lieu thereof on the same subject, establishing an amended and restated defined contribution plan and trust for certain employees of the district. Is there a motion for introduction?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Do I hear an objection to the suspension of the rule? Hearing none. Is there a motion for adoption?
So
No.
moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Mr. Wabi? Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
All right, we're on to resolutions.
Please allow liquor.
I got it.
I'm sorry.
Item 41, the adoption of Resolution 3758, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Timothy A. Byrd for his 37 years of exemplary service to the district from May 28, 1985 to his retirement effective July 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 42 is the adoption of Resolution 3759, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Alan V. Tucker for his 16 years of exemplary service to the district from May 22nd, 2006 to his retirement, effective July 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 43 is the adoption of Resolution 3760, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Edward J. Weiha for his 25 years of exemplary service to the district from August 26, 1996 to his retirement effective July 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 44, the adoption of Resolution 3761, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Mark W. Sloan for his 36 years of exemplary service to the district from February 24th, 1986, his retirement effective July 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for adoption?
Move.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 45, the adoption of Resolution 3762, expressing the Board of Trustees' appreciation to Michael C. Kinder for his 36 years of exemplary service to the district from February 18, 1986 to his retirement effective July 1st, 2022. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Item 46, the adoption of Resolution 3763 is part of the district's continued commitment to the utilization of certified minority and women business enterprises and minority and women workforces in all aspects of its contracting activities. A 2022 disparity study update has been completed by Mason Tillman that recommends MWBE contracting and minority and women workforce goals. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
And finally, number 47, adoption of Resolution 3764 for a banking procedure resolution updating ordinance 14294, specifically Section 3, the authorized investments and improved securities dealer contract project. This will be making changes to the approved commercial paper list. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Wabi?
Aye.
Mr. Nicholasison?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
All right, there is no more business tonight, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody.